So inshallah, the microphone shall go to Shaykh Kabir bin Nasir Al-Asfar to present his lecture on the topic, and I hope that inshallah we'll all benefit from him immensely and we'll have questions to ask بإذن الله تعالى. فليتفضل مشكور.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد إخوة الكرام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praise belongs to Him. We thank Him for making it easy for us to gather in this hall today, this moment. And then we ask Him to make our gathering a beneficial one for us in this world and the year after. We also send His blessings on the noble soul of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, his companions, and all those who follow in his path till the day of accountability. May Allah count us as one of them. Usually in gatherings like these, you will want to big up the person who wants to discuss with people. So I believe that Dr. Sanusi Lafiagi, doctor to you guys, is my boy. So as I told one of the brothers, I said, "Ruwa Shaykhuna, ina kuntu launa indakum Shaykh, inda nawa zamil." So all the Shaykh and accolades give to me. I am just a student of knowledge. I hope to be a student of knowledge, and our sitting today is supposed to be beneficial, supposed to be mutually beneficial. So I'm supposed to talk about the quest for eternal bliss. The quest for eternal bliss. This is the summary of the existence of man. It's like the summary of the existence of man. So I don't know the actual discipline of the people sitting in front of me, but I guess there are people who are involved in Islamic studies, the people who are involved in other branches of the arts or the humanities. So this area, if you study theology or the philosophy of religion, they call it something that has to do with eschatology, the ultimate end of man, the study of the ultimate end of man, and then the last things, the study of the last things that will happen. And soteriology, which talks about the issues around salvation. You and I, by mere fact of being rational, by mere fact that you can contemplate yourself as a rational being, you apprehend that you're rational, the question would come to your mind. Every rational being will entertain these questions, and then these questions would force you, and these questions not really force you, will force you to look for an answer. The questions in themselves are prompted by the facts of life, the fact of life. And those facts of life are self-evident, they are obvious. Number one, where did we come from? There was a time we were not here. I, you. So let's say 20 years into the past, 100 years into the past, we were nothing, as in nothing. So Allah says, هَلْ أَتَى عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِّنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. You were nothing mentioned, no potentialities, nothing. This is a fact. And then you find yourself here now. It's also a fact. You cannot deny this. If you deny it, pinch yourself so that you realize that yes, I'm here now. And then the other one is that you are going to leave this place. Even if you live 1,000 years. As the compiler, as you find it for Al-Fawaqih Sakita, ولو عشت ألفا ثم ألفين بعده على بد من أيام تصير إلى القبر. So you live 1,000 years and another 1,000, another 1,000, you are going to live. Man was not created to be eternal. So we have these three facts. None of us can deny this. There was a time we were not here, we find ourselves here, and ultimately we leave this place. Then the questions would arise. Where did we come from? What is our purpose here? Where are we going to? That summarizes what we want to discuss about the quest for eternal bliss. So as Muslims, we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. This is like a universal belief. That we were created by a creator is almost universal. Atheism, that ideology or school of thought that denies the existence of a creator, is a rare thought process, or is a rare phenomenon in the history of humanity. Or not a rare thought process, a rare phenomenon in the history of humanity. Until probably the 19th, 20th, 21st century, where it gained prominence because of liberal ideology, it was always very, very minority. So for a lot of people, we understand and apprehend that we cannot come from nothing. Nothing cannot create anything. So Allah says in Surah At-Tur, Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in am humul khaliqun. Were they created from nothing? Is not possible. Am humul khaliqun, did they create themselves? Is not possible. These are, you don't even need to cite evidences for this. These are things that are axiomatic. You understand them by mere fact of being rational. The Messenger of Allah told us that this belief that you are created is right there, even at birth. And we have secular studies backing this up, which I will not go into it. So the Messenger of Allah said, Kullu mawludin yuladu ala al-fitra. Every one of us, every human being is given birth to on fitra. Fitra means that your natural disposition to seek and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amma abawahu, but his parents or his environment will turn him to a Jew, a Christian, or a Magian. Yunasiranihi or Yahawidanihi or Yumajisanihi. So we believe that we came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then our sojourn on earth is for a purpose. And that purpose will lead into our being in eternal felicity or eternal torment. It's the message of Islam. That look, you are created to serve Allah on earth here, and then you serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you go to paradise. But if you refuse to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has every right to punish you. So Allah says, فَمَنْ زُحْزِيَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ فَقَدْ فَازَ وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. So at times you go along the street, I don't know if it is prominent in Ilorin here, but in Lagos, see people shout, come, walk up to you, give you flyers, and tell you that attain salvation. Come and attain salvation. It is some believe that your mere prophecy, that you believe in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, gives you salvation. In Islam, it is not like this. In Islam, you may have a primary salvation by accepting Islam and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the ultimate salvation is when you enter Al-Jannah with your two legs. If you have one leg in Al-Jannah and the other one outside, you should not be confident. So when you enter Al-Jannah, as this verse in Al-Imran is saying, فَمَنْ زُحْزِيَ عَنِ النَّارِ, if you are protected from the hellfire, وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ, and you are made to enter Al-Jannah, that is when you have succeeded. May Allah count us among those who succeed. So I just get that background of talking about fitra and stuff, because as the question, as the discussion, as the topic says, attaining the quest for eternal bliss. The quest for eternal bliss. So if quest means that you are searching for something, if you want to search for something, you start from the closest place with which you can get that thing. Suppose you were given birth to in a city, and then for one reason or the other, you started doubting that your father and your mother are your real biological parents. So where would you begin your search? You begin your search from the city wherein you were born. It will be rational for you to decide, okay, look, I was born in Ilorin, and I'm doubting my biological parents. So let me now go to the US to search for my parents. It will be irrational. So you search around the closest to you that can have answers to your question. That's where you start from. And then you start an elimination process. So when you look at all those who claim that they can afford you the opportunity to achieve eternal bliss, to start from atheism. Atheists say that no, there's no purpose in this world, just live, eat, enjoy yourself, and die. To them, life ends here. A very, very bad world. The people who can commit the worst of crimes and then they just die, and that is the end. But the fact of the matter is that if you, even on that, it's the easiest life. You just do whatever you like. You know that ultimately after death, there's no what? There is no judgment. That is why a poet said, وَلَوْ أَنَّا إِذَا مِتْنَا تُرِكْنَا لَكَانَ الْمَوْتُ رَحَّةَ كُلِّ حَيٍّ وَلَكِنَّا إِذَا مِتْنَا ضُعِفْنَا وَنُسْأَلُ بَعْدَهُ عَنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. وَلَوْ أَنَّا إِذَا مِتْنَا تُرِكْنَا. If the case had been that when we die, we will not be resurrected, لَكَانَ الْمَوْتُ رَحَّةَ كُلِّ حَيٍّ. It will be very easy for us, but somebody that will rest in peace, because that's the end. وَلَكِنَّا إِذَا مِتْنَا ضُعِفْنَا. But when we die, we are going to be resurrected. وَنُسْأَلُ. And we're going to be asked about everything. So we eliminate atheism. It does not interpret the world. It does not tally with the way the world is. It's a narrow way of interpreting the phenomenon of this world. And we look at polytheism. People who will go to the forest, cut their own idols, and decide to worship them. Like the Yorubas, like the polytheists of Makkah, and stuff like that. It's also very easy to address individuals like this. The argument of the Quran, given the fact that they are expressed rhetorically, but they are backed up with very firm logic, right? They are backed up with what? With firm logic. When the Quran addresses the Makkans, Allah tells the Prophet, ask them, Man khalaqa samawati wal ard. Ask them, who created the heavens and the earth? La yaqulunna Allah. They themselves say it's Allah. No polytheist believes that the idols they worship is responsible for the creation of the world. If you look at the discussion of Ibrahim and his father in Surah to Maryam towards the end, Ya abati lima ta'budu ma la yasma'u wa la yubsiru wa la yughni anka shay'a. Why do you worship idols that do not see, hear, and they cannot avail you of anything? So those ones also, they're very easy to debate. Now look, okay, and in Yoruba mythology, or they don't call it mythology, they believe is theology. They believe that these idols are secondary to Olodumare. This is Yoruba belief. But to live in this world, you need to appease these deities. You will never find a Yoruba traditional worshipper say that he wants to offer sacrifice to Olodumare. They don't say that, because they will say that Olodumare, it does not take sacrifices from you. So why should you worship sub-gods instead of the one that created them? It's also very easy to nullify. Then we come to the monotheistic faith, or those who claim monotheism: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In Nigeria, Christianity is what we are majorly having. I'm sure a lot of people are not even aware of Judaism. We just feel that, okay, Jews and Christians, there's a difference. Jews follow the Hebrew scriptures. They do not believe in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts of Apostles, the letters of Paul, the epistles of Paul, and stuff like that. For Jews, Jesus Christ is not a prophet. In fact, they say worse things about him. We will not say it. So they do not believe in Jesus Christ, they do not believe in the prophet, but they are usually monotheists. Jews believe that Christians are polytheists because Christians believe in the worship of three gods in one. In the Nigerian context, those who may have a sense of competition with Muslims are Christians. And then you ask the Christian, what do you worship? Because in the same way, everybody says that you either worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way it ought to be worshipped, or you go to what? You go to hell. But I forgot, there are people who are perennialists. People who believe that every and any path leads to God. People believe that you can do whatever you like. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like this, all these religions are just different expressions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem with perennialists is that the Quran does not affirm this. The Quran is very, very categorical. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي, look at the way the Quran puts it. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Whoever seeks other religion apart from Islam, it will not be accepted from him or her. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And in the year after, he will be amongst the losers. So, and then you find this also expressed in Christianity. John 6:13. That for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. It's as clear as that. So you have to make a choice. For us as Muslims, who are giving back to you as Muslims, we have an advantage. But that advantage is not absolute. There are people who are born as Muslims who wake up one day and say that they are no longer Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not afflict us. For several reasons. Some of them is because they had personal trauma. In fact, personal trauma is one of the leading causes why people reject faith in God. For a lot of people, you may come and say that no, I studied this. When you sit down and debate them, you realize that the underlying thing is personal trauma. There are people who lost Islam because of poverty. You ask, I have a friend. I had a friend became Christian, and you asked him, and he said, well, he had a dream, and masquerade or something was chasing him, or he saw dreams like this. At times it's poverty, extreme poverty. People will tell that masquerade was chasing me. There's no way masquerade will not chase you when you go to bed hungry. Masquerade will chase you when you go to bed hungry. They say in the name of Muhammad, the masquerade will not go back, because Islam did not say you should call on Muhammad. So at times, for a lot of people, it's extreme trauma. And for some, it is shubhat. I hear people who say that, there's a brother who used to discuss with me on Facebook. He said that he had a friend. That friend showed him the path to the Sunnah. And today, that friend of his is an atheist. So that if they discuss with him, now this was someone a practicing Muslim. So he was the one that kept it on Sunnah, but ultimately he is now an atheist. And it starts with people going over the internet, reading things that they are not prepared for. There are people who sit down and have no job than to criticize Islam. And then they can bring a lot of arguments against Islam, arguments that Islam has resolved thousands of years ago, but you are not aware. Things that are not shubuhat, they are not even issues, becomes an issue for the mind that is not discerning. And then you see the outward appearance of Islam is not sufficient. Your outward appearance as being somebody who is practicing. I once asked, okay, let me the context. I met her. She was even of an MSS, a university MSS group, and she became Christian. And we were told to go and meet her. I wanted to go home because I had a book that I wrote some biblical verses. That okay, even if you are arguing, I can refer you, because sometimes if I'm talking to a Christian, as I mention biblical doctrines, you understand what I'm saying. I do not need to quote. But for some people, you may need to say John. So the people say no, it's not necessary. So I just went to her, and we had a discussion with her, and I had an idea where she was coming from. What were her arguments? So the Quran talks about jihad. They killed this, they killed that. That was the reason she left Islam. They killed this one, they killed that one. The Quran says this. I said, okay, fine. What about the Bible? Look at the instructions. You cannot find verses of the Quran that are as explicitly violent as the verses you find in the Bible. Verses of the Bible instructing Moses to kill everything that is alive, men, women, children, even animals. Verses of the Bible that says that kill all the men, but keep the women for yourself. Some people had problems when ISIS was taking sex slaves. In fact, that ISIS did not have sense. You do not judge a religion by what members of that religion are practicing. It is academically stupid. In academics, this is a theory, and some people are applying it in a way you have problems with. So you have to study what do they believe, how are they practicing it. So you have a fair assessment. To look at Muslims and conclude Islam is wrong is stupidity. So I threw it at her, that look, all about this, all about that. And she said, but that's in the Old Testament. And I said, but the Old Testament was revealed by God, and Jesus is God. So one of the things they say, you give them a testament, say, tell them that, okay, but it was Jesus that revealed this. Say, that one has gone, but he was once committing genocide. And now they be like, these ones are non-arguments at all. They are not reasons why a Muslim should doubt his faith. There are people who would have problems with Islam because Aisha was married at the age of 9. What is your business with that? How does this affect the central message of Islam? And don't you assume that the problems you are having is a bit anachronistic? You are projecting your 21st century mind and mentality into the mind of Arab desert living in the 6th, 7th century. So let's pick the youngest person here, or somebody, youngest person that finishes the university, let's say 25, 20, 21. Okay, you see what I'm saying now? If I go to a place and Christians are there, even if you don't tell me to talk about the age of Aisha, well, then I'm not doing it again. I will talk about it. I was invited by an investment company. I still brought up the age of Aisha. And it was very easy for me to do. I'll tell her, okay, how old were you when you graduated? And they tell me the age. And I say, okay, how many years did you spend in university? Minimum 4. Abi? Then how many years did you spend in secondary school? Minimum 6. That's how many? 10. How many years did you spend in primary school? 6. That's what? 16. Subtract 16 years from 21. How many years do you have? You have about 5 years. Now, assume that women are not going to. If I was would have given up before 5 children. You will not be married at the age of 20 something, 30 something. That is, so you project your industrialized, secularized, westernized worldview and project it, but it is not the Islam or that has a problem. It is you that do not have the proper lens of looking at it. So anyway, where I diverted was this. Some people lose their faith. Number one reason people lose their faith is trauma. They lost somebody they like. They feel, oh, why didn't Allah solve? They have problems, financial problems. They are looking for a child. Number one reason people lose their faith is trauma. They will now try to cover the trauma with a lot of things because they are not even ready to say to themselves what the truth is. Number two is going around and looking for shubuhat. Ulama will say that learn your Islam first. Some people know. You have a problem with Islam, go and ask the specialist. Islam has been around, we are in 1444. Islam has been around for more than 1,000 years. It has been served by scholars of all tribes, all nations, all orientations. They work on the Quran from Fatiha to Nas several times in different circumstances. There is no verse of the Quran that ought to be problematic for you. But they will not ask scholars. Rather, they'll go and read what atheists are saying. You are listening to Richard Dawkins or
and the truth of the past.
These are nonsense. I used to ask a brother, look, you are asking this question. Why are you going to these places to go and look for all these answers? People who are going to poison your Islam for you. So shubuhat is the second reason. Third reason, shahwat, desire. In his own life, he doesn't want to marry a Muslim. He feels that because the Muslim woman covers her face, they are not beautiful. You don't know what you are doing. You know, says that it's those girls that wear jeans that I like. So we have, look, even if you want to marry the one that wear jeans and spaghetti, we have Muslims like that also. But you know, say, for a long time, when I hear someone say, me, I don't want to marry somebody, young boys say, I don't want to marry somebody who is practicing. Look at them. They are usually irreligious. You will not, it will be funny. Some people lose their faith because of sex. She loved this girl, wallahi ta'ala. I've heard of a case of a brother who, when he graduated, could not find job, and then he ultimately got a job with a firm, and then he married the daughter of the owner of that firm. He lost everything of his religion. When you guys say, you two are Muslims, no, you do not know what you were doing. I think Joseph Nokoyim that narrated about the person who came to accept Islam, and then they told him that, look, Islam does not accept the consumption of alcohol. And say, I can't accept Islam now because of alcohol, and he died a kafir. It's not funny. There is an actor, a lot of us here, we know him, a foreign actor, Tyrese Gibson. We know him, right? Tyrese is a black actor. He moved with brothers who had become Muslim. And he asked him, why don't you become Muslim? He said, because of the girls. He's very sympathetic to Islam. Tyrese, we will tell them, no, they are not terrorists. But why wouldn't you accept Islam? Girls! And you see Tyrese is always with girls.
Tyrese was not a former musician.
He does actor, he does acting, so there is not. Because of women. That's the third reason that people will leave their Islam. So poverty is also a factor. See, people, I gave an example I've given this example in 2-3 places now. I used to go to a place around Ojota to do halqa every Saturday. And that place, it was a tent. They had a tent on that place. And it was terrazzo, not tiles like this. And on the terrazzo, I saw cross. I did not talk. After a while, I asked Jama that, this is a mosque now. Why are we seeing cross here? And they told me that, you see, that place was initially a church. This is not one real life event. They said it was initially a church. But the pastoress or the deaconess who was there, when she was going to retire, she told people that, look, this place, I'm selling it, but don't sell it to a church. Right? So don't sell it to a church. You have to sell it to a mosque. Because all the while, for those tens of years that she was there, acting as a deaconess, she was a Muslim. The Christianity was for her to just get food. There are people like that. The only reason they will leave their Islam is because of food, poverty. There's a popular pastor who said that he became Christian and he was able to Christianize all his family. How did he do it? Because he had money. And of course, you know that Yoruba Islam is very porous. You say, hey, it's the same thing you are worshiping. That is how. Anyway, so but that is just by the side. These are reasons why people become Muslim. If you want to assess Christianity academically, it's problematic. And one of the major problematic doctrine of Christianity is the central idea, the doctrine of the Trinity. It is the central idea of Christianity, and it's the most problematic. For Christians even know that how would God be three yet one? How would God be three yet one? And they have a lot of ways of going around it, and none of it has worked. They have modalism, they have Latin Trinitarianism, they have social Trinitarianism, they have Nestorianism. All these attempts to let us give people a logical way of understanding Trinity does not work. Islam has been the only religion that is consistent rationally, scripturally, and even historically. Now, there is only one God. If you read the Old Testament from beginning to the end, you will not have an idea of God being three in one. One of the laws of the Old Testament, they call the Shema, is that, hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is what? Is one. No explicit verse of the Bible mentions that. So you have Islam right there in front of you. Already we are born as Muslims. Some of us at varying levels of Islam. May Allah not take Islam away from us. Our Islam in itself needs to be qualitative. The fact that your trousers are above the ankle, or you decided to have a beard, or at least you have a Muslim name, is not sufficient to grant you eternal bliss. You have taken a massive step, or your parents have assisted you in taking a massive step of becoming what? Muslim. Now, for you to maintain that and end up in Jannah, to attain that eternal bliss without suffering in hellfire, is itself an Herculean task. And what are the problems we encounter? Even as a Muslim, what are the problems we encounter? Islam consists of three things. There's a creed that you must adhere to. Creed as preached by the Prophet and as implemented by the companions. So we now start breaking off how people have problems with this Islam. There are people who consider cursing and abusing the companions as an act of religion. And the Rawafid, whether they are open Rawafid or hidden ones. And you are told that you must respect the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. There is a verse in Fuaki Usakit. I hope I can remember it. فَطُوبَاكَ إِن كُنْتَ مِنْ أُمَّةٍ تُحِبُّ الصَّحَابَةَ وَالْمُصْطَفَى. So some of these small books, they add the basics of our Aqidah in it. فَطُوبَاكَ إِن كُنْتَ مِنْ أُمَّةٍ. God tells to you, if you are from an ummah who loves تُحِبُّ الصَّحَابَةَ وَالْمُصْطَفَى. And this is not just a rendering, it is there in the Quran. Allah saying, talking about the Muhajirin wal Ansar, للفقراء المهاجرين الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم وأموالهم يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا وينصرون الله ورسوله أولئك هم صادقون. And Allah mentioned the Ansar والذين تبعوا الدار والإيمان من قبلهم يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. The first ones صادقون, second one مفلحون. And Allah says والذين جاءوا من بعدهم يقولون ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا. Oh Allah, those who come after the companions, we pray for them. Forgive those who went before us. Do not put the hatred of the believers. Who were the believers referred in that verse? The companions. If your religion is about abusing the companions of the Prophet, you will not attain eternal bliss. Then we have people who, under this Aqidah, will believe that the inherited doctrines of their father is sufficient to worship as Muslims. So because our fathers do certain things that we feel are part and parcel of Islam, and that they are actually at variance with Islam, so our father will tell you that there's nothing wrong in doing charms and sorcery. Call this Allah. No! Islam calls this thing shirk, even if it is shirkul asghar. These are part of the problems that may afflict us as regards our creed. Second level, I said there are three things. I mentioned the creedal one because of the time, and then I'm getting exhausted. We have to stay away from those things that Allah SWT has prohibited. Fitnatu ash-shahawat, like zina, like taking money that's not ours. These things are not easy. To assume that, well, because mashallah, I'm practicing, I have beards, and mashallah, it's easy to say when we are out there, when we are amongst our friends, that I cannot fall into zina, no, it's not an easy thing. We are wired as men to desire women, and we are wired as women to desire men. It's not a strange thing to find that, look, I feel attracted to the opposite sex. And that is why Islam has laid down rules for you to avoid zina. Especially those of you who are in the university, whereby you are exposed to your male colleagues 24/7, and then you are exposed to your female colleagues 24/7. You see people you like, It's people you are attracted to. And you guys are already, for a lot of us, we have biologically matured. Right? So you want to be with that sister and say, what are you doing around sister? No, I just want to teach her
No.
now. Nobody. No, sister, you have to remove your niqab. I want to see your mouth as you pronounce the ishmam. The color I must see. And if you want to pronounce because these rules are technical. If you want to pronounce gunna and the gunna comes, is it before or after a fa? Your teeth must be on your lips. I must be able to see it. That is why in Islam, these things are to be attracted to the opposite sex is not wrong. That is why Islam says go and get married. That's what Islam says. Marry so that to reduce it. One can still lose that bliss by engaging in zina. Especially in a world whereby these things are readily available. There are people who feel that no, I will not do zina, particularly people who wear hijab, but I can be going to prostitutes or I can be looking at pornography, and then they go ahead with this. All these things are problems that we are supposed to avoid, and that is why Allah says that it is our responsibility to purify our soul. How do you purify our soul? Allah, the wrongest place in which Allah swore by something was where he swore by the soul. وَالشَّمْسِ وَالضُّحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا ابْتَلَاهَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ. All those were qasam swearing. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And then the jawab al-qasam came, called the aflaha man zakkaha. لأن النفس أمارة بالسوء. Because our human soul is prone to do these things. قد أفلح من زكاها. So also is our ability to carry out what Allah SWT has required of us. It is difficult for some people to pray. It is difficult for some people to fast. The Muslim will sit down and look at his deeds after you've said that, yes, I've attained this point. Islam can be done in ignorance. It's either you try to be a scholar or you are somebody who's always asking the scholars, what about this? What about that? Believe me, everything that you want to ask, Islam has an answer to it. Like I've been doing these things, reading, talking to people for more than 10 years. So we expose a lot of things that people would ask. There is no question you want to ask that Islam. Look, there was a question that people who did philosophy 101 OAU, they used to, the philosophy teacher would ask them. It took me a long time to have an answer. A long time. And I got the answer in a book, Sharu Akida At-Tahawiyya, or Ibn Abi Izz al-Hanafi, where they were talking about, he would enter the class and tell them that, okay, you believe that Allah can do everything? They say, yes. God, he's addressing Muslims and non-Muslims. Say, you believe that God can do everything? They say, yes. And then God can create anything? They say, yes. Can God create a stone that he cannot carry? So people will not be able to answer. They say, you will not be able to answer it. But scholars have responded to this in a book as old as the Aqidah Tahawiyya of the Shaykh Aqidah Tahawiyya of Ibn Abi Izz al-Hanafi. What was their response? Ibn Taymiyyah said that Allah can do everything. There's nothing Allah cannot do. And we call this the Qudra of Allah. This is a recurrent theme in the Quran. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. So we say the Qudra of Allah can do anything. Lakin Qudratullahi la tata'allaq bimutanaqidat aw bimuta'aridat. But when we talk about the ability of Allah to do anything, we are not talking about things that are logically impossible. Not that Allah cannot do it, but such a thing does not exist. You know what I'm saying? There is no such thing as a stone too heavy for Allah to carry. Now, to make it clearer, I'll give you an example. If I ask you, can you draw a circle? Is there anybody here that cannot do a circle? Just take your pencil and you have a circle. But if I ask you, Can you draw a circle with 3 sides? Can you? Is it because of your inability, or because there is no such thing as a circle with 3 sides? It's the same way. So you find every shubha that people want to raise, Islam has an answer to it. So you study Islam. If you can't study Islam, you ask questions. All those the useless questions are the ones that, hey, why did Islam, social questions, why did Islam allow the marriage of minors? Why are you like this? Because if someone asks me that question, if the person is sincere, I may try to explain without insult. But if it's a stupid person, because some people are stupid. There was a brother I was discussing with, and his name was Muhammad. Someone gave me my number and said, okay, he should debate with me. And he said, Islam is very terroristic. And please listen to it though. It's very terroristic. And I asked him, okay, brother, what is the meaning of terrorism? He did not know. Can you imagine the stupidity for you to go to hell on a concept you do not even understand? The greatest thing for us as human beings is to enter Jannah. May Allah make us enter it. You don't want to go to hell. Instead of you at least go to hell sensibly. You don't want to go to hell on ignorance. Define terrorism. You could not. I now define everything. I defined it for him, gave it to him, and I said, yes, I said. I said, okay, now, is Islam terroristic? He could not. Yes, we had ISIS, we had Boko Haram. Give me an instance where a Muslim nation has invaded another nation in the 20th, 21st century. You cannot find. It's the USA. And this idiot will glorify the USA. So who is the terrorist? Those ones are foolish people, really. Okay, let me go to non-foolish people. Non-foolish people will ask you that, okay, why does Islam allow minor marriages? You see, as what Islam teaches, that you must be a critical thinker. You ask the person, what do you mean by marriage to minors? I say, okay, marry somebody around 15, 16, and that's married to minor, or 14. Why should you marry people like that? Then ask, one thing I know how to do, I learned is this. Ask them, why is it wrong to marry somebody who is 14, 15, 16? I say, hey, it's not good now. Why is it not good? And it's not good. Why is it not good? They said because she's supposed to be in school. Even if she doesn't, no, let's even leave that one. Can't she be going to school with that? Why is school the basis of knowing what is right and wrong? You will realize that the person is only speaking from the social environment he found himself. There is no objective reason why marrying somebody who is 14 and 15 is wrong. Where is it? You cannot find. The only reason you can say is that, okay, if she gets pregnant at that age, then she may have complications, which is also false. Before secondary education, what age were women getting married? As I mentioned earlier on. And so said, what about VVF? Something vaginal, and one of our doctors said, no, VVF is not a function of the age. It's a function of the availability of medical facility. Where it happens, because even a mature woman can have VVF. People who don't go to hospitals, the head of the baby, they would have delayed labor, and it will cause the birth canal to merge with the urine this thing, and then urine and everything will be passing through the vagina. It's not a function of the age of marriage. Muslims must have sense. You must have sense. I was on TV once, and I'll end with this. One particular Ramadan, Boko Haram was also very high then. And it was to talk about Ramadan. I just felt that these journalists, Lagos TV, they will bring up Boko Haram. So I prepared for them. So we are about 3. We talked about the virtues of Ramadan. One of us said, yes, you've talked about these virtues, but you people go around killing people. Why are we having Boko Haram? Why are we? And we are about going off air. And one of the anchors said, not every Muslim is a terrorist, but every terrorist is a Muslim. I know where she got it. So all of the people that get quotation from these white people, they think they are on top of the world. One stupid person who is white will say something, and they think that, So she said, so we went off air. Then we came back and I said, no, let us discuss this. So, okay, you said not every Muslim say well. And so the Lord's Republican Army, how they call themselves. So the Lord LRA in Uganda, they are Christians. In fact, they believe that they are fighting for the implementation of the 10 Commandments. They do everything that Boko Haram does. Their leader is Joseph Kony also. Browse it. Joseph Kony in Uganda, the Lord's Republican Army or the something LRA. Then she kept quiet. Now, how can you make such rules like that? How can you stop being Muslim because of Boko Haram? If you want to study, don't let me even go to that. So a Muslim must be a critical thinker. Somebody says something is wrong, ask him why that thing is wrong. Ask him, is that thing objectively wrong? Objectively wrong in the sense that irrespective of where you find yourself and what you are doing, that thing will be wrong. Like raping a 5-year-old. Every human being will feel that this is repugnant. You don't find such rules in the Sharia. In fact, when it comes to jihad itself, there's a problem for some people. We have very, very balanced rules. We don't kill women. We don't kill children. We don't kill priests who are facing their worship. In fact, there are thought that don't kill people who are not combatants. And it's for a purpose. It's not just for slaughtering people like ISIS does. So, may Allah SWT grant us eternal felicity. The goal of every Muslim is to achieve Al-Jannah. And what every Muslim should do is to strive with what Allah has given him or her to attain that Jannah. May Allah SWT make it easy for us. If I was in a gathering where people are more philosophically inclined, my language will be different. So, but yeah, I believe that I have been able to explain basically what it means for us to strive to attain eternal bliss. May Allah SWT make it easy for us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we thank our Shaykh and brother Abdul Kabir bin Nasir Al-Asfar for sparing his very precious time with us to take us through the topic. In summary, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned 2 verses in the Quran that summarized what we have heard from the Shaykh. Number 1, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Whoever wants to attain the eternal bliss must seek to the provision of this ayah. The gaia of your existence is to worship Allah, and as a Muslim, like you mentioned, you already have the manual. All you need is to begin to implement the manual. And lastly, Allah also mentioned in the glorious Quran, وَابْتَغِ فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. So the goal of everything Allah has blessed you with, wealth, knowledge, health, time, is to strive to attain the eternal bliss. So that should be the first thing. Your existence in this world, to eat, to clothe yourself, to provide for your family, should be secondary. So do not let these things overtake your primary responsibilities to worship Allah and to seek His pleasure on the day of resurrection. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him for us. May Allah preserve him upon goodness. May Allah return him back safely to his destination. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase every one of us in knowledge and piety and in righteousness. Because of time, we're supposed to end the program by 3. I don't know if Amir, do we have time for question? I'm looking at, this is past 3:10 already. Now, okay, can we take 2-3 questions? Because of his own time. Just 2-3 questions, please. So that we conclude the program and allow him to go and take care of his other assignments. Inshallah, after the question and answer session, our brother Hadiyatullah will once again give us some recitations from the Quran with which we conclude the program.
When I put the question.
No one call. Anetu, are you writing a question? All right, please. So if it's just one, we'll take it. Otukoko, is that a question? We won't take more than 3 questions, please. Get the one from Anetu, and then the last one. So someone is asking, what is the Islamic ruling of Muslims participating in politics? Though the questioner qualified with Nigerian politics, I don't know if Nigeria has a brand of politics different from what is obtained elsewhere. Then the second question is, if a husband does not take care of his responsibilities and also drink alcohol, can his wife deny him intimacy?
Both of them, these questions, especially this politics question. What do you want to know about it? People have been discussing these things for a long time, and they will not cease discussing it. So okay, so I'm going to give you my position on it, right? Nigerian politics is secular politics, democratic politics, where authority is given to the people instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at base, it is not permissible. At base, Allah says, in the hukmu illa lillah. Judgment belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a democracy, judgment is given to what? To who? The people. The legislative power is given to the people. So that's why you can turn haram into halal. So that's why you have in the Western world people saying that gay people can marry and stuff like this. So that's number one. Number two is the fact that scholars differ as to participating in this type of politics. And you have a broad spectrum of people who believe that don't participate at all. Right? There are spectrum scholars like this. And you have scholars like who say, okay, participate. It's a spectrum. And in between, you find different views about from scholars. The majority of our Shaykh, Shaykh Albani, Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, allow okay, let me split also here. There's also a difference between you going to contest for a post and you merely voting. So there are a lot of nuances involved. There are people who say that no, don't go, you can go to vote with conditions, and you can go and participate to be voted for with conditions. And then there are those who say that you can vote absolutely. So for me, really, putting yourself as a candidate in southwest Nigeria, I will not advise anybody. In fact, if I have a friend who wants to contest as a candidate, because I want to get you to get in southwest Nigeria, if a person is contesting and is somebody I can speak to, I've done it twice. I'll go to the person and tell them that please don't participate. So don't go there. Because politics in southern Nigeria and in Nigeria goes hand in hand with shirk. They tell you to swear by, are we saying? They tell you to swear by Ogun, swear by this, swear by that. In the north, it's a different ball game. In the north, it's a different ball game. Even if there are problems, if you ask me, can I participate in the north? My answer would likely be different. And this is like, for me, this is like varies. If I'm saying, should I participate in elections in India? I'll say yes. If you say, should I participate in elections in the USA? I'll say no. In India, Muslims are a minority and they are being persecuted. They need everybody who can support them. In the United States, there's nothing you can do. It's a liberal thing. You just become a supporter of LGBTQ, as we have seen with people who went there. So in Southwest Nigeria, I will not advise anybody to go out. However, can we vote? I said yes. Can we vote? Yes. That was what a lot of the Mashaykh said. Shaykh Albani, some say they put condition. Which condition did they put for voting? They put condition for participating, that you must be able to do this. You must be. For voting, I don't know the condition. Shaykh Albani was asked that you said that this thing is wrong. He said yes. But you allow people to vote. He said, yes, because I believe that you can go there and choose the lesser evil. So one should not be afraid to say this. I've said, yes, there are some scholars who don't vote to participate. But my stance is, I was asked in Qiyamah, like, what's your stance? I'll say, well, this is what I believe is the safest. And Yabin Uthaymeen was asked, very good fatwa. You find it on the internet. I don't know why people bother themselves. It's on the internet. They asked him that American elections, there is a president who, if he wins, there's a candidate who, if he wins, is going to be detrimental to Muslims. And there's one that if he wins, is going to probably be softer. And he said, go and vote for the one who is the lesser. You cannot say that which condition did he put there. It's me and you that. So politics is not a theoretical thing. You have to look at the person who's contesting. The environment is contesting. There are certain elections that is none of our business. There is no reason for you to say vote for this or that. They are the same to just leave them. And I need to stress also, there's a difference between me saying that this is my stance on politics or voting, and me actively campaigning for a candidate or telling people go get your PVC. I do not agree with that. If I'm asked, this is what I'll say: people can vote for who they feel is the best. And so say, is it to establish Islam? Did I tell you that they're going to establish Islam? Islam has maqasid al-khamsa that has to be protected. Deen, life, property, and so we can feel that yes, this ruler will protect our property and what. There's nothing wrong with this. But for me to come out and say that go and get your PVC or vote for APC or vote for Ali Kumar University, no, I will not do that. It is not my responsibility as a da'iyah. My responsibility is to explain so people mix these things together. By the time you start telling people to go for PVC and vote for this, you are already in partisan politics. The same thing we condemn Khan for, you also are doing. So we mix a lot of things together. Explain your position, that this is my position, and that is the end. So that's my position I've explained. And then the other one,
responsible husband who takes alcohol.
Who responsible husband who takes alcohol?
And the wife denies him intimacy.
It's not about the alcohol, right? Number one, you're supposed to divorce him because he's drinking alcohol and is not worthy. In a long year, we have Sharia courts you have a good case across the Madahib that this guy takes alcohol. So divorce him so that you don't put yourself in problem. The other one, which is a sensitive question, is that can he be denied intimacy? Some scholars allow it. That the reason why a woman should always be ready for intimacy is because the man is carrying out his responsibility. They don't see the right of son and father. This one is not reciprocal. Even if your father does not give you any right, you still have to give his right as what? As a father. But jurists do not see the right of husband and wife as reciprocal. No. It is based on the fact that the husband has to fulfill certain things. That is why all of them will say that if the man does not provide basic things, food, clothing, and housing, you have the right to demand that the marriage be annulled. They also say that it means that you have lost all right to tell the woman not to work. So yes, there are scholars who believe that no, if he's not responsible, as defined by Islam, not as defined by sisters. Because if a sister hears this now, you know, say, Asfar said that if he's not buy pizza,
Data.
no sex. Pizza about the husband that is from Ilorin that he only knows best care. And you want to tell him to go and buy, which pizza are you talking about? No, that's not. When we talk about responsibilities as defined by Islam, a man that does not do that, and at times the man has the capability. We have wicked men like that. He has money. The women will be suffering. He will not give them food. Yes, some scholars allow it that yes, you can deny them intimacy. But best of all is what I told you. If you are in such a marriage and you are bold enough, opt out of it. But our sisters, they don't have liver when it comes to divorce.
Sometimes the parents will not even support her.
That is the problem. By the time, that's why I mean that they don't have liver. They can come to Facebook and say, you this are fast. You don't allow women to do this. I used to look at it, we know you more than you know yourselves. We will push a woman to the point of divorce. That you have every reason to divorce your husband. But I'm not a Qadi. I can't divorce your marriage. Your father cannot dissolve your marriage. You have to go to a court. That is where you now realize that you can only speak English or write English. They black deliver. Some of them will go to the first and say, they have maids in that place. They did not listen to me. Go back there. I have supervised sisters to the point of, in fact, there was one that gave her the divorce. At a point, she said, they are not. I said, no. You want to finally deal with this. Go there. They gave her time. She went there and they gave her the whole. They separated them. After a few weeks, she just called me and said, Ustaz, the family have sat on it and then we are reconciled.
Oh.
I said, no problem. Just know that you have to do a new act because it is Kolo. You cannot just start sleeping with him again. So the best thing is then the question is, how did you end up marrying somebody who drinks alcohol? When you see the brothers having beards on campus, you think that they are not fine. Or you ask them, what course did you do? Islamic studies.
He's an inshallah brother. Mashallah.
Brother, what course did you do? Is Islamic studies. My Sekhara did not choose you.
This one is inshallah.
But brother did medicine. My Sekhara chose you. The one that now did medicine started drinking alcohol. You are not supposed to be a practicing woman who is married to somebody drinking alcohol. How will it work? And unfortunately, we are having this problem where sisters wearing jilbab are dating Yahoo boys. Are you mad or something? It's not thinkable. But they are telling me that no, this Asfar, this thing is happening. You are dating somebody who is doing Yahoo. It doesn't make sense now. So this is how you end up and marry somebody who will be drinking alcohol. May Allah assist us. Assalamu alaikum.